magnifying glass is where we start our story, and conversations start with Karen from Kentucky. Ed's dead. She's a detective who is down on her luck, and behind the bar is an old friend, J. Clough. Ed's dead. Ed's dead. So please be ready on the edge of your seat as our tale unfolds, a mystery treat.
Karen, it must be 20 years since the cat last dragged your mousy face into my bar.
Usual, James.
Jay these days. Jay Clough.
Sounds like you had a busy week here at the Magnifying Glass Bar.
You gonna find the son of a bitch who killed my multi-instrumentalist? Bloody mosquitoes.
I'm working on it, Jay. I'm working on it. But I'm in a limbo here, caught between the living and the dead. Looking at my contact sheet photos of all the suspects. Veronica, Ed's girlfriend, the beautiful weeping widow. Logical suspect, of course.
Me? Killing my sweet Ed? Isn't it obvious that I'm heartbroken? But the sax player, Zeb, he was always jealous. My Ed, he could play every instrument, but Zeb, he could only play the sax. I think I could get through this with a one-night stand. And after Ed's death, I think I'm just not interested in the opposite sex.
Sex. Sex. Sax! Why did the sax player change his appearance when he came back from the jungle?
Well, everybody here is a rivalry as strong as ever before. A multi-instrumentalist and a jealous whore. One has the moustache, the other has the beard, but they never loved each other. Their rivalry was feared. But jealousy is a dish best served with saxophone. And Sebastian couldn't even play that one instrument alone. Yes, he needed Ed. Now Ed is...
You sure like wiping that thing down, Jay.
Well, they don't call me Jay Clough for nothing, do they? Wiping's in my bones. I like it clean, and I'll get some dirty tights in it. Just last week, I had a guy sit down, order a drink, and start brushing his teeth right here at the bar. Toothpaste everywhere. I was wiping like my life depended on it.
You talking about Johnny Clean Gums?
The very same. The most ruthless mob boss in town. The guy who runs every flash mob from east to west. He brushes up real close with the chief of police.
And you think they're involved?
I'd bet my last J cloth on it.
Oh, the dead guy. I knew him. I didn't like the guy. He was always looking at me funny. You know, like he thought I didn't have clean gums or something. You ask anybody about Johnny Clean Gums, anybody, they'll tell you, I don't just brush my teeth twice a day. I brush my teeth all day. I knew him. I didn't like him, but I didn't do nothing to him.
Sure, that washes with me, Clean Gums. I mean, even if you did do it, which you didn't, I'd make sure that you never took the rap for it, because I'm a crooked copper. But I'm not the one you've got to convince, am I? There's this detective from the United States of America. She's been sniffing around town, and she thinks you did it. So my advice would be, you might want to recede from the limelight.
I'll recede when my gums recede, which will be never.
I agree, you've got very little chance of contracting gingivitis. That aside, I do think you should lie low.
Ain't gonna happen.
Well, it's got to happen. Otherwise, you're going to be Johnny Imprisoned Gums.
They have toothbrushes in jail.
No, Johnny. No, they don't.
Okay. No jail. No jail.
I just can't figure it out.
Well, the bodies are piling up. Sounds like Mardi Gras at the morgue. Oh, bloody mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes. Mosquito. J-Claw! Of course. When Seb went to the jungle, he purposefully brought a mosquito back with him. He fired it out of his saxophone, and it died. And then the mosquito went on the loose and bit every suspect in the case, just to make sure no one could find out it was a crime. Now I just need to figure out how to catch a mosquito.
Well, everybody now has seen their fate. A gruesome tale of love and hate, where jealousy has reared its dirty head. But how do I know this? I'm in limbo. I'm Ed.
Black turtleneck. Can I hear you? I cannot hear you.
I wasn't talking.
Don't be funny.
By the way, I'm sorry about this. This is okay, isn't it?
Yes, it's natural. It's the human body.
It's a drawing.
Well, it's a drawing of the human body. I mean, if it were some sort of, inappropriate, massive schlong, staring us in the face, I think that would be a problem. But it's not.
It's Modigliani. Now I'm starting to have doubts.
But there's something about the curvature of the lines that's very, and the belly, it's very Modigliani. So So Jacob, it was really great that you played the game, director versus director, and that you played it so well, and that you played it with such very cool people that you brought together. And I just want to ask you a series of questions that I think would help our viewers. And I mean, it's, since we're such good friends, I was so glad that you played well. If you didn't, I was going to be like, oh. So you've seen some of the, you saw some of the episodes.
I've seen all of them. I've watched every one.
See? And because they entertain you as well as you knowing that I'm going to sort of flag you down for a directorship.
Yeah, I mean, both reasons. I was curious to see what everyone else was, doing, and I guess the versatility with which people were responding. It's interesting to, like, things get creative when you build confinements. So I was just looking to see what ideas people were coming up with. And they're really, they're really entertaining. All of them have such, different kind of flair to them, and are so individual to, not just to the person and the group making them, but also like because of the time restriction, there is a strange energy that sort of glues all of the pieces together. So it's interesting seeing how everyone works with, the one thing that they've got in common, which is a short period of time.
Yeah. And just their sheer intuitive response to the situation. Like that seems to be a through line. What I love that word flair. That's so nice. I'm going to start throwing that in because it's true. They all have a flair to them. And I think in part because everybody is just operating from, a place of just desperate intuition as opposed to in some way sort of overthinking it, which is beautiful. I mean, I love that response to the game. You knew it so well, but did the challenge, surprise you in any way? What was the most surprising thing about actually playing as opposed to watching other people play?
I think it was the shock of, I think the first hour, sort of, just trying to kind of, it's like, because of the 3 different props and the theme, you're trying to sort of fit all of these ideas into a funnel and best, work with a team of people to try and figure out like what the story is going to be and what kind of shape it's going to take. So yeah, I think the biggest shock was kind of that first hour. However, the team that I worked with was so good and worked well together so fantastically that that totally absorbed the shock. Like, I had done a quick sort of getting to know you, not even getting to know you, but just kind of, a quick intro, people introducing themselves and sort of talking about a rough framework that I had half hour before we met with you. And
at the orientation. Half
an hour before the orientation, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as our team met and sort of got together, it was clear that there was like a very kind of respectful atmosphere. It was creative. And it was like, I don't know, everyone was kind of, it was a perfect balance of kind of creativity and sort of like professionalism. It's a weird word to use because, but everyone just kind of like rose to the challenge very, very intuitively and generously.
Yeah, a cooperation, as it were. And you've heard that expression, that improv expression, yes and.
Yeah. So I think that like what I was aware of watching the other interview with the other director that you had done, I can't remember his name, sorry.
Mark Devine.
Yes, I really enjoyed that interview, and one of many things that I took from that was that thing of like the 3 hours is going to whip by very quickly, so therefore any idea is a good idea, and it's just about building on it. Yeah.
In what ways did you find that you were the director?
I suppose in the fact that, so in the days leading up to it, I had an idea for a genre which was kind of noir, like a noir detective, something or other.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking like the benefits of using a sort of solid genre is the fact that you can use kind of like stereotypical or archetypal characters that an audience can very quickly associate with and understand. So in a noir, it's like, this is the dead person, this is the detective, this is the girlfriend, you know, this is the mob boss, and all of the characters that our team came up with. So like, it feels like a generous way to present an idea to an audience because they're already in on like what those tropes are.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, well, that just kind of felt right. So I felt like I was the director insofar as I brought that. I had also come up with the mechanism of that contact sheet. I didn't know in what way it was really going to be used, but I thought that, again, watching Mark's interview, it was interesting that like creating short chapters and having a sort of a narrative that gets chapterized by something is quite a generous sort of mode of storytelling for the audience. So
Yep.
I had that idea in my mind, and I knew that I was going to have the benefit of having Manon next to me doing tech stuff, and so it was it felt achievable. It was a little bit scary doing something like that,
Yeah.
but it felt achievable, and we were up for the challenge. So those were kind of the main ways, and then the thing that was really interesting was that I thought that we would go more down the path of kind of coming up with like a framework together in the first half hour, 45 minutes,
Yeah.
and then split off and for different people to, you know, write their different scenes. What actually ended up happening was that we had a writer's room all the time. We didn't do any break-offs. All 8 of us wrote the entire plot there over the 3 hours.
I saw that a little bit as you were refining your story in the tech rehearsal, because you'd gotten through the tech rehearsal and you were just sort of hitting some finer points. And the way you were all sort of spitballing the revisions and the fixes, and the way that, excuse me, everybody got sort of very amused by each other's ideas as you were going forward. That was really great to see, that just everybody was sort of giddy with the fun of creating together, which that's, I mean, to me, that is to your credit that you pulled together people who were playful. I mean, and I assume that you thought maybe they would be, or were you just sort of pleasantly surprised that that turned out to be the case, having to bring in, you had to bring in people that you knew could sort of show up on the day, but did you have a sense of their ability to be cooperative with one another? Yeah,
I think actually until today, you know, the biggest thing leading up to it is trying to figure out what, you know, who's going to sort of be the best combination of people. You know, I mean, I think, I mean, I hadn't actually worked with most of those people before, but I had kind of crossed paths with them, or, I mean, you know, I'm friends or friendly with all of them. So, but we hadn't worked together. So it was just like, you know, who do I get the impression is like fun, you know, quick, like creative, funny, able to sort of fill in gaps if something goes wrong, who doesn't have an ego that's going to like make things weird or just unnecessary. And so it was just like, I think trying to find, a group of people who all had that ability. And also, because originally I was kind of thinking about like assigning slightly more different roles, like having, you know, a script supervisor, or and sort of being a little bit more sort of prescriptive as to what roles people were going to play.
Right.
But actually, the skill set of all of those people meant that, like, because of the nature of what we do, you know, you end up having to like produce your own 2-person show and everything else. So most people actually have the skill set to, you know, be able to like come up with how to make a prop, or finding their costumes, or, you know, diving into the script document and writing their own notes. Like,
yeah, you guys did some really fun stuff with it. It was really quite amusing in many ways. And I love that contact sheet thing. How did you do that? How did that, because that was a great device to as a backbone to the storytelling. How did you create that?
There's a doorbell. Can we pause?
Yes. Pause.
I have to go and grab a charger. Just give me, I'll be as quick as I can.
I'll entertain the troops. Won't you come home, Bill Bailey? Won't you come home? I'm waiting.
I'm back.
I am waiting.
Sorry about that.
No, please. No, please. No, please.
Quite amusingly, the postman just handed over a piece of post and sung "This Is the End" by The Doors.
Jesus. I found your sketch on Pinterest.
Yeah.
And it's, yes, for sure, Modigliani. Great then, Ken. Good for you. I mean, it's great that you had your backbone, so you knew what was going to happen there, as far as using the noir thing, but then you just had to put the theme and the props into it. Yep.
Yes, you were also asking how we made the contact sheet.
Oh, let's go there. Forgot. It was so long ago.
You're gonna need some really good editing to clean this thing up.
I'm not going to clean it up. Are you kidding? We're human here, director versus director. How'd you make that contact sheet? You took pictures of everybody.
Yes. So on the day, we after about an hour and a half of writing that we'd all done together, we then asked everyone to take a picture of themselves that kind of summarized their character or their scene.
Nice.
They then sent that to Manon, and she turned it black and white and dropped that into the contact sheet artwork that she had created. And then she, using Premiere, sort of did this Ken Burns zoom in and moving through the various pictures. And so that was on like a standby screen. Because Manon was also our tech op, she was able to go to that and press play in QuickTime as a sort of transition scene break.
Mm-hmm. That's nice. I like when people are sharing media during the game, sending audio clips or sending some video clip or some picture. I think that's very exciting to do that kind of sharing. Great. Now, so you knew what you were going to do right before the orientation and right after the orientation. You got together, although you did have a plan to sort of be a little bit more, like you say, prescriptive. It came out to be that everybody was collaborating so well in the same room that you went along with that. How did you keep track of the progress? How did you? Was somebody on a typewriter, banging that stuff out to keep track of it, or how was that happening?
So I think that my time management probably could have been a bit better, but we made it work. So I think the first half hour, 45 minutes was spent sort of with everyone just spitballing ideas, thinking about all of the different characters. Some people gravitated towards certain characters. We laid all of the characters out. So there were certain ideas that we sort of were, building. And it's like, like you said, with this sort of yes and philosophy, it's like, well, we've got all of this stuff on the table. Now we've only got 2 hours to start to actually get this stuff into some kind of structure. So let's move.
Yep.
So Alex, who was playing the corrupt police chief, sort of stepped into the role of writing down the script. We had a shared Google Docs script document. I said that I would write the script down, and then he knows me well and very quickly stepped in to save my inability to get things down. So he was getting things down really smoothly, and we just I think it was Nanu who was playing the detective, who basically suggested, like, let's just start at the beginning of the story and work through it methodically, scene by scene. And it sort of made sense. Okay, we've got this contact sheet. If we set it in a bar, then all of this stuff can be played as memories. So rather than a detective actually going through all of these different characters, if it's at a bar, if we have this framework of Jack being the J-Cloth, the bartender, then it can sort of jump around in time. It's more surreal and interesting if it's playing on like a detective's mind rather than actually going through it, stage by stage. So it's kind of like, let's join the story when she's about to make her decision as to who the killer was. So yeah, we moved through it scene by scene. And then when we had, I think, about an hour to go, so once we were about 2 hours in, and I think people had sent in their photos. I'd made my video of me shaving off my moustache. Then I asked everyone to just basically fill in to sort of revise their parts of the script. We started. So the plan was during the tech rehearsal to do everything, to do like a cue to cue thing on StreamYard. But because we'd already started practicing on StreamYard, by the time it came to the tech rehearsal, we'd actually run through it about 4 or 5 times already. It was like, we've got of using that technology.
Yeah.
I had the benefit of sitting next to Manon. So all she needed was the script to be updated as everyone's lines were sort of coming through and being changed.
Right.
I was just like her co-pilot, scrolling through the script, helping, cue different people. And like, it started off scrappy and then it got better and better. So in terms of time management, that was kind of how it went. Like, first hour was thrashing around ideas and starting to form a frame. Second one was like figuring out the order of all of the scenes and making sense of everything. And then the third hour was polishing the dialogue and starting to run through it. And then by the time we came to the tech rehearsal, I think we were able to run through it fully twice within that half hour.
And how did you add David, the musician singer, into the mix?
David, so I that was another sort of pre-planned idea that I'd had when I asked David to be part of it. I'd not worked with him, but I know David is amazing at writing funny lyrics, and he's just a sort of virtuoso on the keys. So I had a feeling that he was going to be a really good narrator. So I asked him to be the narrator, and yeah, that was amazing watching him work, because what we would do as a group, we would sort of think, okay, like, where would it be nice to have bits of music? We had to make the decision, is the detective the narrator, or is there another narrator on top? Which was a bit of a weird decision.
Mm-hmm.
Because normally with that kind of noir thing, like the normal thing to do is you have the detective narrating, but it felt like it would be a bit too heavy on the detective character. And so we thought, okay, let's have David as the narrator. And then at some point someone came up with the idea of, what if David's character Ed is actually the guy who's dead? So we have it as a twist at the end. Not only is the twist that the mosquito was the killer, but also our narrator, who's been guiding us through the story, is the guy who's dead, and that's how he knows all of the information.
During tech, there wasn't a shot of David dead. Did you add that, or when was that added?
That was added. So that is actually in the contact sheet. That's there all the time.
Oh, it was.
You wouldn't kind of notice it unless you were looking for it at the start, because there's
right.
8 pictures. But at the very last minute, yeah, we decided to then move over to the shot of David dead on the floor.
That was very helpful. I think, you know, just as, to help sort of put a button on it, because so I couldn't tell exactly who was dying, and sometimes, and I just got stuck on the fact that a saxophonist was shooting a mosquito out of his saxophone. I thought that was beautiful and so sort of novel. Not sort of novel, really novel. How did you navigate the rules? Was that any problem at all, or you just sort of given?
The problem was only being able to have 7 people on StreamYard, given the fact that we were 8. So the way that I navigated that was because also we had to have a green screen moment. So during the 3-hour task, me and Manon filmed my green screen thing of my moustache being shaved, and then that got created as like our green screen thing and as our film clip, and it just meant that I didn't need to be on StreamYard. So that's how that was sort of navigated, which was a little bit tricky.
It was perfect. Yeah. Was the contact sheet wasn't pre-recorded? It was live.
Sorry, that was also pre-recorded. Yeah, there was. Yeah.
And then what was your experience of being interviewed by Mark? Do you know, like what was that like? Because it's a whole other element, right? It's a whole other piece of work.
It is. I think like the thing that I guess it just like took me by surprise, especially before the performance. Like my head had been so, like I was so kind of not in the headspace of trying to be entertaining or funny or clever or any of the things that you need to be. And I was so focused on just working with everyone and deliver this thing. And then all of a sudden kind of that. It was confronting, but it was okay. It became easier after we had done our thing. I felt for Artur because obviously he had to wait even longer, and also obviously he speaks Portuguese, not English. So I really, really felt for him there, and sort of hoped that he was okay with everything.
Yeah, he had such a brave perspective. He told me afterwards, he's like, I didn't always understand, but I just sort of whatever, That's a beautiful reaction to the situation,
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly such a like kind of interesting, kind, just intelligent person, and you could see it. His piece, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and all of the people that he was working with, it's like. There was, I think, just like it comes back to this kind of generosity of spirit. That's what was so nice. I mean, it's obviously called director versus director, but I enjoyed, because we all did the orientation together. I enjoyed the camaraderie of the experience so much. And although I didn't speak to Artur directly, like there's an appreciation that everyone who's taking part of in this thing is like, putting a lot of time into it, taking a risk, bringing part of themselves to something. And it's like, there is something sort of exposing about it. Not personally, but kind of, especially because everyone's gears are a little bit rusty because no one's had the chance to do anything this year. So it's just like, let's see how this goes. So I enjoy the togetherness of it all a lot.
Yeah, it was so exciting for me during orientation to have an international group, I was just like, whoa. And then just to see the sort of the difference of a vibe between your team and Artur's team, it was just like the chemistries were very different, but when they came together, like you say, they came together in a spirit of like just showing up and being enthusiastic and being generous. And you know, and then afterwards just being, I think, grateful for the experience that they had. I think, you know, and people are always afterwards just like, boy, that was fun, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, our team had a WhatsApp group going, and you know, that everyone just had such a fun time. I think people just enjoyed the day so much, you know, just kind of being thrown into that scenario, you know, and just like, you know, all of the, because of the constraints and because you've got to work in these props and the theme, it's like, it's a nice challenge. Like it's difficult and it's creative, but there's nothing at stake as well. It's just like, you can just do it, and whatever, like whether you think it went, you know, badly or well, or however frustrated or whatever, it's like, ultimately it doesn't matter. The point is just doing it, just turning up and doing it, and that's so nice.
Were you ever invested in wanting to win?
No, I was.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I mean, that seems to be the case. Like, you know, like you said, just do it, you know, and just do it to the best of your ability, or do it to your highest joy level, or however.
I think just the sheer fun of it really stands out. Like, especially because it's been such a strange and unproductive year, working together with other people.
Yeah.
The joy of just being able to get together and make something where everyone, like, also it was Kit's birthday, on the day, on the Sunday, and you know, like I spoke to him and afterwards and said, you know, thanks so much for like spending your birthday doing that, and he said it was such a joy to be able to have that privilege to spend his birthday doing the thing that he loves to do, you know, with a great group of people who are up for it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
well, Jakob, thank you so much for, you know, talking about it, sharing your thoughts and everything. We'll talk soon. I want to talk with you about just sort of, I don't know, my love of your group. It's fun. All right. We'll have.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the experience. It's nice to be able to sort of check in, you know, 5 days after it happened as well, and kind of reflect. So yeah, me and everyone had such a good time, and I'm sure that, you know, Artur's group did as well. So thanks for organizing it. It was like the breath of fresh air that everyone needed.
That's the hope. It really is, and just to keep everybody's souls clipping along. All of us artists, we gotta do the art, you know, and together, it's really fun.
Yep.
All right, ta-ta.
All right.
More later.
Speak soon.
All right.